He cashed out our 401k. He bled our future dry for a fantasy. Our dream of a golden retirement is now a daily fight to keep the lights on. That promise was a lie. This isn't peace. This is a nightmare. What would you do if the man you trusted most stole your golden years? For 35 years, we followed the rules. Richard worked his way up from the floor to shift supervisor at the same plant his whole career. I ran the home, raising our children and stretching every dollar until it screamed. I remember when the transmission went out on our first car. We could have bought a new one, but that was our honeymoon money. So instead, Richard spent a month of weekends on his back in the garage, covered in grease, just to keep that old station wagon running. That feeling of shared sacrifice was our fuel. It made every hand-me-down sweater and every skipped vacation feel worthwhile. I still have the old paper ledger where I tracked every penny. My careful handwriting fills the pages with little notes scrawled in the margins. Don't forget insurance, Christmas fund, fix the leak under the sink. It wasn't just a budget. It was a diary of our sacrifice. I remember the day we paid off the mortgage. We sat at the kitchen table, holding the paid-in full notice, and we both cried. It felt like we'd finally made it. We were safe. Our dream wasn't about yachts or mansions. It was simpler. Being able to visit our grandkids without checking the bank balance first. Richard used to come home smelling of machine oil and exhaustion and say, "Just a few more years, honey." Then it's just you and me. No more clocks to punch. Our savings were sacred. The 401k was Richard's territory. He'd show me the statements, his finger tracing the numbers. I trusted his steady hand, his belief that if you just did the right thing, it would all work out. I trusted him with our future. I never thought that trust would lead us here. The pension was supposed to be the bedrock, the company's promise. We went to the pre-retirement seminars, and I sat quietly while the men talked numbers, trusting that they knew best. That silence cost me everything. We had our three-legged stool, the 401k for growth, the pension for income, and Social Security as a backstop. We believed we had done everything right. But then things at the plant changed. New management, talk of automation. The stress was eating him alive. "They're pushing the old guys out, Sue," he'd tell me. The fear of being forced out started to haunt him. And that's when the dream of early retirement became a desperate escape plan. I see it now. That desperation is what opened the door and let the nightmare in. I thought his steady hand was guiding us toward peace. I didn't realize it was steering us off a cliff. The first time he mentioned it was a Tuesday. He'd come from breakfast with Mark, a flashy guy from the plant. Richard walked in with a spark in his eye I thought had been extinguished years ago. He smoothed a glossy brochure on the kitchen table. It showed smiling, silver-haired couples on sailboats. The words were big and bold: guaranteed returns, wealth preservation. He said Mark had moved his 401k into a private real estate fund and was getting huge checks. "It's not like the stock market, Sue," he said, his voice rushing. "This is tangible. Real estate. People always need a place to live. It's guaranteed." I picked up the brochure. It felt flimsy. "Who is this man? What's his company? Nothing's guaranteed." His face soured. "You're not listening. This is for accredited investors." He said the words like a password to a club I couldn't join. The plan was to cash out his entire 401k, pay the taxes, and the returns would be so high we'd make it all back in the first year. "Imagine it, Sue," he pleaded. "I could retire tomorrow, not in 5 years. Tomorrow." For weeks, it was all he talked about. He was always on the phone with the advisor, a smooth talker who called him rich. I never spoke to the man. Richard said it was better if he handled it. He understood the financial lingo. A knot of dread grew in my stomach. We had the biggest fights of our lives. I begged him to talk to a real financial planner. "They'll just try to talk us out of it," he'd say, his voice hard. "They don't want us to know about these opportunities." The turning point was an early retirement buyout notice from the plant. He came to me that night, his face pale. "If I don't do this now, Sue," he said, his voice quiet and desperate, "we might have nothing. This is our only safe move. Our only guarantee." He made me feel like my caution was a lack of faith in him. So, after 35 years, I gave in. I was so tired of fighting. The next week, he liquidated our entire future. The money was gone. All we could do was wait. But what happens when the mailbox stays empty? When every day feels like waiting for a miracle that never comes? I thought the silence was the worst part. I was wrong. The real horror arrived in a certified envelope. The first month, Richard was home. It felt strange, like a vacation we couldn't afford. We were just waiting. "Should be here any day," he'd say, coming back from the mailbox empty-handed. The end of the month came. No check. The first of the next month. Still nothing. The quiet in our house grew heavier. The only sounds were the scrape of a fork against a plate, the clink of silverware, the coldness of leftovers we ate for the third night in a row. Sometimes, in the low light of the kitchen, I'd see a tear slip down his cheek, and we'd both pretend not to notice. "Probably just a processing delay," he said after a call. The advisor was smooth. "An administrative holdup." We used our emergency savings for the bills. A second month passed. No check. Richard started avoiding friends at the grocery store. He'd sit in his chair for hours, just staring. The excuses from the advisor got more creative. Zoning issues, permit delays. "It's a big project, Sue," Richard would parrot. "These things happen." It's still guaranteed. But I didn't just lose money. I lost the future I had been promised. I thought the pension would save us, until the letter arrived. Because he took the early retirement buyout, his benefits were slashed. Our bedrock had turned to sand. That letter didn't just cut our benefits. It cut the ground out from under us. If this feeling is familiar, if you've ever felt that pit in your stomach, I hope our story helps. Ladies, I need your voices. We need each other. Tell your story. Warn another woman. Protect someone's golden years before they're stolen too. Please, if you have your own story or words of advice, share them in the comments. Let's build a community here. Let's make sure fewer women have to walk this dark road alone. After 6 months, the breaking point arrived. Certified mail, 2 months behind on the mortgage. The word foreclosure in stark black ink. My hand trembled. The dread I'd been swallowing for months erupted. It was pure, cold anger. Richard walked in. He saw the letter. His face went ashen. "I was going to handle it," he whispered. "Handle it?" My voice shook, but it was loud. "With what money?" "There is no money. Is there? A letter, a stamp, a single piece of paper, and our world ended. The advisor said, he started. I don't want to hear it, I demanded. Show me. Right now. Every piece of paper. He placed a folder on the kitchen table, his confession. For 2 hours I read. As my eyes scanned the pages, one thought screamed in my head. Every line of fine print was a nail in our coffin. Then I opened my laptop. I typed in the names, the fund, the advisor. It was all there. A classic Ponzi scheme. Articles, warnings, forum posts from other victims, vacant lots, empty promises. Our money, gone. Story after story, just like ours. I pushed the laptop across the table so he could see. I watched the last bit of hope die in his eyes. I watched his face crumple. His hands, which had once seemed so steady, flew up to cover his face as his shoulders began to shake. He began to sob, not quietly. These were wrenching, guttural sobs from a man I'd never seen cry, the kind of sound that rips out of a place deep inside. His whole body shook with the force of it. I thought I was doing the right thing, he cried into his hands, his voice cracked and hollowed out with shame. I just wanted us to be safe. And in that moment, my anger evaporated, replaced by a bottomless sorrow. How do you separate the man you love from the mistake that ruined you? He wasn't a villain. He was a proud, scared man who was so terrified of one monster that he ran straight into the arms of another. The days that followed were a blur, begging the bank, talking to a bankruptcy lawyer, hearing a polite voice tell us recovery was highly unlikely. Richard retreated into a shell of guilt. The foreclosure notice forced us to tell our children. Admitting our failure was the most humiliating phone call of my life. But they didn't judge. Their support was a lifeline. At 65, I got a job, a cashier at the local grocery store. On my first day, a girl young enough to be my granddaughter trained me. I fumbled with the register, my hands shaking as I struggled to find the right codes. In the next line over, 2 teenagers giggled, and I felt my cheeks burn with shame. Then I saw an old friend in my line. Sue, she said, smiling. Keeping busy? I forced a smile back and lied, pretending I was just bored in retirement. The lie tasted like ash, but that small paycheck felt like control. I was no longer just a victim. I was a survivor. Slowly, Richard started to emerge. He started a vegetable garden in the backyard. The smell of the soil, rich and dark, now fills our small yard. The scrape of his trowel in the dirt is the first sound I hear in the morning. His hands, once calloused from supervising men and machinery, now tremble as he gently packs the earth around a new seedling, a quiet hope for life and growth. He plants seeds as if trying to repair what he destroyed, his quiet apology for the barren land he created. Our marriage isn't the same, but we're a team again, working together not toward a dream, but just to make it to the end of the month. We haven't lost the house. Not yet. We sold my mother's jewelry and Richard's father's watch, pieces of our past to pay for our present. We were supposed to be in an RV right now, watching the sunset paint the Grand Canyon in shades of orange and gold. That was the plan. Porch swings and grandkids and quiet mornings. Instead, I'm counting cans of soup at the grocery store. My husband's mistake wasn't born from greed. It was born from fear and the desperate hope for a shortcut that simply doesn't exist. The brutal lesson is this: there are no guarantees. Financial security isn't a destination. It's a path you walk daily. It means asking hard questions. I kept quiet for too long. I trusted, because that's what we were taught to do. Never again. I'm sharing this as a warning, but also as an invitation. An invitation to sisterhood. For every woman who has ever been told not to worry her pretty little head about the finances, this is for you. Your financial security is your business. Your future is your responsibility. If it feels wrong in your gut, it is. My golden years were stolen, but in the rubble, I found a different kind of wealth in my own strength. They can steal your money. They can steal your plans, but they can never steal your strength. And together, we are stronger than any scam. Watch this next for another gripping tale of retirement gone wrong, plus the lesson you can't afford to miss.